one second.
Oh,
Let me plug this in and just give me 1
oh,
second.
no worries. While you're doing that, I did hit the live button. So my name's Jerry Capizzuto from GodIsLoveTruthFreedom.com, as well as GodIsLoveTruthLife.com, because a life without freedom is not a life worth living. I'm also the founder of SoundPath.org, which is a truth and freedom music festival that features, just folks, musicians, artists, performers in the natural law community. And I am very honored to welcome Anna Noel. She is an amazing musician, healer, yoga instructor, and satanic ritual abuse survivor, who I met recently through a CE5 experience recently here in Florida. And we basically hit it off. You're definitely, I just noticed immediately that we're very much aligned in a lot of ways. And I'm honored to be here with you and to have you share your story with us.
Well, thank you, Jerry. And yeah, it's so nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me on today. And excited to share my story. And we recently met through a mutual friend, like she said, at a CE5 contact event here in Florida. And I feel like we definitely have a lot of similarities in our background and definitely align on many things. So here we are. And that's pretty much what led to us wanting to do a podcast together. So I'm definitely ready when you are to get into it.
Yeah, and before I forget, I want to make sure we plug your work. I'm dropping in the chat your SoundCloud. So if people want to check out your music, it's soundcloud.com/Anna Noel 0287. And
Yes.
you also have a yoga practice with on Instagram, and so that is, whoops, that's the private chat, this is the public chat. So so this one is for your Instagram as well.
Yes, that's for my yoga, health and wellness business account. So I currently do teach yoga at a couple places here in the Tampa area. And so if anyone's local and wants to come take a class, please come on down anytime. Love to have you.
Yeah, so you told me that the experiences that you had as a child were part of a sort of bloodline, sort of family ritual. Do you want to go into that?
Yes. So originally I was born and raised in the Seattle area, Puget Sound area of Washington State, and have been living here in Florida for about the last 3 years. And I kind of always knew growing up as a child that my family was not normal. I grew up in a very dysfunctional family. And even even before the darker, deeper memories started coming to the surface when I was an adult, even before then as a child, I could see how much toxicity was in our family. My parents were very emotionally absent. I felt very neglected as a child. My father was gone a lot. He was a doctor for 30 years and just was, I feel like, gone for half of my childhood. He was just never really home or around. When he wasn't at work, he was going on trips all around the world, which I now realize were not just fishing and golfing trips. They were doing other things, but that's neither here nor there. We can get to that later, but suffice to say, I did not get along with my siblings either. Me and my sister had a very toxic relationship. And looking back now, I can actually empathize with her and have compassion because I now understand that we were both going through, I think, different forms of abuse, and especially with the SRA stuff, I think we both were being abused to different degrees. And I cannot speak for her. I don't know exactly, what she went through, but I can see now that a lot of her emotional outbursts and her just um being so like over the top as a child was because that was her reaction to the abuse, whereas I was very much like, I went very inward. I'm a Cancerian, so we kind of tend to go into our little crab shells when we feel threatened, right? So I just became very quiet, and I was like the peacemaker in the family. I just wanted everyone to get along, and I didn't really understand why nothing ever seemed cohesive. Nothing in her family was ever cohesive or stable. It was like 5 different people living on different planets, but all in the same house. It like made no sense. And so basically, yeah, I don't really have a relationship with my family, because of that now. Um, they don't really speak to me. I don't really speak to them. And I, it was in 2019, that so after growing up in Washington and even having to live with them again for a few years in my 20s as an adult, I realized like the only way I'm going to heal is if um, I leave, and do what I need to do for myself, which was, for me, moving to Hawaii at the time in 2019. I felt the call at the beginning of that year. It was like crazy, the amount of synchronicities like that were happening that were pushing me to go there. And so, yeah, I did it, all on my own. And that was Hawaii for me is my soul home. It is the one place on this planet I feel the most at peace and the most at home and the most safe, to be myself. And so I now looking back can see that I believe God source really wanted to get me out of that toxic environment I grew up in to move to Hawaii so I could heal myself. And so I could finally face a lot of the darker things that happened to me as a child that like I literally would have probably completely lost my mind if those darker memories had started coming to me while I was still living with my parents. Like that would have completely broken me. So um and I probably would have ended up in a mental hospital, to be completely honest. They probably would have had me committed. So I had to get out of there. And thank God I did, because so I moved to Hawaii in June of 2019. So literally exactly 7 years ago. And it was not that long after I moved there. It was, I think, within the first month, I started having all of these darker memories come to the surface of things that had happened to me as a child. Certain rituals that my father took me to, that me and my sister were both taken to, actually. And by the way, I'm also going to say this before I continue that, yes, this is my story, but also this is all allegedly and for entertainment purposes only. Okay. So just so we're clear on that. Um, but yeah, I started having, all of these like very deep seated subconscious memories that I had buried deep down come to the surface. And, with pretty much all of the memories, I wasn't even like in my own body at the time when I was a child because I was so young and the trauma was so much and it was so overwhelming for my little body that my spirit was like, I'm out of here. So every vision and memory I've had of those things as a child, I'm like out of my body hovering above looking down. Um and so I was very detached literally from those memories for a long time. And I now know and understand from So I've also had many whistleblower friends that I've crossed paths with over the years that have come into my life, um, including Max Spears back when he was alive, before he passed. And I've heard many things from other survivors, other whistleblowers, and had many confirmations that have confirmed my own experiences. And I know that I'm not alone in them. And, you know, some of what I remember Max saying, he experienced as a child, I'm like, okay, I couldn't see it at the time, but like I feel like that was spirit's way of trying to get me to see what was happening in my own family, right? Through these other people. Um so like I actually had, I'm going to go back to way back to 2008. We'll take it back for a second. So I had my very first awakening way back in 2008. And this was when I was still in college. I was only 20 years old. I was very much just I I had to be shown and wake up to all of the darker aspects of this reality first. So um basically it was my research into secret societies, starting with Skull and Bones, and then the Masons and the Illuminati, all these other, they're all under the same umbrella, really, but these various different secret societies, they all have different names, but they're all connected at the end of the day. And my deep dive into that is what really, opened my eyes to the truth of this reality, that like nothing is as it seems. We've been lied to about literally everything since the beginning of time. Everything in this reality is inverted and backwards, and nothing is as it should be, right? So that was a very lonely time for me. I was very angry when I first woke up. I was very distrustful, and it took me several years of like working through that until the lighter side, the more spiritual side of things started coming into my awareness. And that's when like I guess a lot of the like new age concepts and all of these different like channelings from these different ET groups and stuff started coming into my awareness, in my reality. And so started going on a deep dive into that for a few years, and then came to find out that a lot of that was an illusion, and saw through a lot of that as well, and that was also a lesson. All of it's been a lesson in me honing my own intuition and discernment, right? And that's really kind of at the heart of what all of this comes back to. And I know it's what like is probably the biggest lesson in my own life journey, as well as other people who've gone through similar things. It's all of these things have happened to us in order to teach us how to hone our own intuition and discernment and sharpen it, so that we can actually feel instantaneously, like just know whether someone or something is for us or not. Is this person safe or not? Can I trust them or not? Because so much, there's been so much like lies and illusions and just disinformation pumped into you know these different communities, right? Especially the disclosure community, the truth community, whatever we're calling it now, right? That you and we're very involved in this, and have many friends in this community. There's still a lot of disinformation going around, and people repeating things that may not necessarily be true, just for likes or clicks or attention or what have you. People say things just to go viral, like. So getting back to my own story, basically I started waking up in 2008, had to go through the dark night of the soul first, then came more into the light. And then it was actually in 2012 when I got my first 200-hour yoga teaching certification. I did my sound healing training in the same year. And that's when I really started on my healing journey, my healing path, right? That I didn't even realize at the time was there to ultimately help keep me sane and grounded enough for the future once I did find out about the SRA stuff, right? Like, so it was like I was already being prepared to become, I had to heal myself in order to become the healer I'm meant to be for others as well on this path, because I do believe that I am here to help heal the other healers, actually, and the other survivors of the harshest of the harshest trauma that you can go through as a human being here, because I've had to endure it, you know. So I feel like I'm here to help those people, not so much the newly awakened, like, newbies, right? I believe that there's other people that are meant to help them on their path, but me, I feel like I'm here to help the people who've already been on this path and been on this journey for a while, you know, help them clear their trauma. So yeah, that's when my own healing journey began. So I did my 200-hour in 2012 at an amazing place down in Santa Barbara, California. And then I went down to San Francisco in that same year to do my sound healing intensive training. And yeah, have probably done like 10 or 11 different teacher trainings in various types of yoga since. So I'm definitely kind of a yoga addict. Currently, I'm teaching vinyasa yoga, Buddha yoga, yin yoga. But actually, aerial yoga was my forte, my specialty for most of the last decade. So I'm also an aerialist and I love being in the air. And I'm a dancer as well. And I would say, for me, the most, if it wasn't for yoga, music, dance, and yes, I'll be honest, cannabis, I would not be able to be here right now. Like those things help keep me sane and grounded throughout the last, 15 or so years. And I'm so grateful for them, especially yoga, because it really is a practice of, yoga literally means union, right? In Sanskrit. So it's that bridging of the mind with the body and the soul, and being fully conscious and aware of your body in the moment, and being able to control the flow of breath and energy through your body, and being able to control the monkey mind as well, right? Like that's huge. And using the breath to help refocus the mind. That's really the main practice of yoga. And it's kind of ironic that here in the West, it's just become so like muddled or like misinterpreted. Like, we focus so much on the physical asanas here in the Western world, right? The physical movements and the poses, which are also good and beneficial, right? That we need to move the body and be mobile to keep that energy flowing. But it's more about the breath, actually. It's more about the pranayama and the internal, the working with the energy in the body is really what it's about, right? So that's what I try to constantly remind people of in my own classes, is like, just whenever you're in doubt, just focus on the breath, right? Just breathe. Don't think about anything else, let whatever stress is there, let it go. Just focus on the breath. It's so simple. And that's really like, I have studied so many different modalities over the last decade. Every healing modality you can name, I've probably tried at one time on myself, right? Or I've given it to others. And honestly, out of everything I've tried, the truth at the heart of all of it is so fucking simple. It comes down to being able to control and get out of the monkey mind, focus on the breath, give yourself and others love and kindness, and just be an honest person. Like, these are the thing, and ground, right? Connect with the earth, connect with the natural world around you. And they're all free to do, by the way. Like, it doesn't cost any money to go and stand out on the grass, sit up against a tree. It doesn't cost any money to meditate. It doesn't cost any money to just be kind and loving to people. These are all things that are easy and free to do, and yet we overcomplicate things as human beings. And coming back to the SRA stuff, how I even began to heal from that and try and find some understanding around it was, so as far as I know, my godfather, who shall remain nameless for now, we'll just refer to him as my godfather, or my demon father, as I like to call him, because he's definitely not godly in any way, shape, or form, far from it. But nonetheless, that is how he is related to me. So my godfather, as far as I know, the information that started coming to me in 2019 is that he was the leader of these satanic cults that he basically blackmailed my father into joining, along with several of my other father's close friends. And my dad was also a doctor, and so was my godfather. So were several of the other men in this group. And that's another thing I would like to touch on at some point in the conversation, is also the connection between the medical industry and the satanic agenda, because they are very much intertwined, extremely intertwined. So I was shown and had memories come back around being taken to rituals with my godfather and my father and all these other men present. And I won't get into like the gruesome details of what happened, but suffice to say, I was definitely sexually abused on more than one occasion, physically abused, but most of it was honestly psychological and emotional abuse. It was mental and emotional abuse that I endured. And I do believe I was also a part of some sect of Project Monarch as well. There was definitely some sort of MK Ultra style mind control involved. I do remember my parents trying to put me on medication when I was younger, even though I knew basically antidepressants and other, drugs for your mental health. But like, I always knew that like there wasn't actually anything wrong with me. And I now believe that was done to purposely suppress my gifts and my ability to actually speak out against what was happening to me. That's another way that they shut us survivors down, is they can say, oh, well, she's on such and such medication, right? So she can't be trusted. She's not right in the head, whatever, right? It's the crazy making game. They basically try to make you look like a crazy person, like you're mentally ill, so that no one will ever believe you, even when your memories do come back to the surface and you do start remembering things again. They make damn sure that no one will believe you. And that's the insidious part of these groups, is they're extremely good at covering their tracks and like making sure the public will never know who they are, right? And as far as I know, my dad, unfortunately, was actually the scapegoat of the group. I don't believe he's actually evil like the rest of them. I don't believe he's done things to children. I have asked my own higher self this, and I've been shown no, he's not been involved in that stuff, thank God. But he's been in the room, and basically they will, and again, this is what I've been shown, okay? I have no way to prove this, but basically they would drug him and just kind of leave him in the corner. And if they ever got caught, they were going to pin it on him. So he was that person in the group, right? And I do believe that he was mainly a part of the group, not only to play that role, but also because they really wanted to get to me through him. So the only way to get to me was through forcing him to be part of this group. So, and also, this is an important piece of information that probably needs to be said. My godfather, and this is one of the first things that tipped me off even as a child, that something was very off with our family. My godfather was my mother's obstetrician. He was her baby doctor that delivered not only me, but both of my younger siblings as well. He's delivered thousands of children in his career. So why would he want to be my godfather? Never really made sense to me until now. Now I get it, right? Because somehow, and I still don't know how, they have their weird rituals and black magic and shit that they do to figure these things out. But somehow my godfather knew who I was on a soul level before coming in, like physically being born. He knew who I was when my mother was pregnant with me, and I believe he wanted to have control over my soul, which is why he somehow strong-armed my parents into letting him be my godfather. And he definitely did some sort of binding rituals to try and, keep me down as a child. But I've done a lot of healing work since then to try and break those binds, and it is possible. Okay, just so people are aware, it is possible. You can break the spell and the curses these people put on you. You just have to become aware of it first, right? And yeah, honestly, a lot of my healing, I will definitely give credit to my connection to Yeshua, aka Jesus Christ, for. I am very close to him. And I will share something that I've never really shared publicly now, but he is literally my direct soul family in a way that most people on this planet are not. And I did have a past life where I was alive during that time, and I knew him very well. I was literally a part of his family back then. And so I've had a direct soul tie to him and our entire soul family for forever, right? Since before even coming to this planet. And I am very aware. I'm also a starseed who's not from here. From what I know, I'm originally from the Sirius constellation, but I do also have connection to the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, and the Lyrans. So, but Sirius is kind of where we all originate, right? And where our bloodline originally stems from. So there's also a lot of connections to ancient Egypt and all of that maybe we can get into on another podcast. But suffice to say, so a lot of my healing over the last 10 years, and especially the last 7 years since finding all this stuff out, it was him. I credit a lot of my healing to Yeshua helping me get through it. And just, I know he's always around me and he's always by my side. And he is very real. And there's a lot of, I feel like, misinformation around him and his story that I'm also meant to clarify for humanity in this lifetime as part of my mission. So, and because of my close soul family connection to him. So, I definitely would say for anyone, especially who's a survivor of SRA in particular, developing a relationship with Yeshua is crucial and key. He will be there for you. He will support you. He literally is kind of the only being that can actually really come up against these people in a real way and take them out. And they know it. And that's kind of why I feel like they've been after me my entire life. So, because they know my connection to him. My godfather knew my connection to him somehow. And I've also been made aware that, and again, I cannot prove this concretely, but that my godfather is a Rothschild. He is connected to the Rothschild family. I'll say his public name that he goes by is not his real name. I have been made aware of what his real name is. I'm not going to say it right now, but suffice to say, he is a con man. So like hindsight being 2020 and everything that I know now, as crazy as it is, all of the SRA memories that have come up and all of the things I've been shown about him and my parents and my family and who we are, it finally all makes sense and brings all of these various puzzle pieces from my childhood that didn't make any sense and were very disjointed. It now brings it all together, and now it makes sense. Even though it's very dark and it's not pleasant, at least it makes sense and is easier to understand now and grasp what the hell was happening to me as a kid, because there was just so many things that none of it made any logical sense. Like, there was a lot of secrets in my family growing up. Like, literally, I didn't find out until I was in my 20s, like major, big secrets in my family, that I'm like, why was I not told about this when I was younger? Like the fact that, one of the biggest things, for me that tipped me off before I started having my darker memories that also made sense once I realized all of this was my dad told me when I was maybe like 22, 23, it was my early 20s, that his mother, my grandmother, who I never met, he told me she died before I was born. Come to find out, that was a lie. That was not true. She died after I was born. They purposely didn't want me to meet her. But nonetheless, I didn't find out till my early 20s that his mother was labeled as a paranoid schizophrenic when he was only 7 years old and thrown in a mental institution. And he had to go visit his mom in the mental hospital when he was just a child. And his father, I believe, really made my dad believe a lot of false things about his mother that were not true, and painted a picture of her that basically what I've been shown, she was not really a paranoid schizophrenic. She saw something she was not supposed to see that was being done to my dad when he was a child. And so it was her husband, my dad's father, that wanted her locked up so no one would ever believe her. And they basically tortured her in there. They did experiments on her. They practically lobotomized her. So that is why I believe she seemed so cold and distant as my dad claims she was. That wasn't really her. So again, it's like there's been multi-generational abuse like this going on in my family now for a long time. And so I knew, even when he told me that, I'm like, that's not true. Like, I knew she wasn't really a paranoid schizophrenic. Like, my intuition was screaming at me, like, no, like, that's a lie, dude. And she's come through to me in spirit many times over the last few years and has really tried to like get the message through and show me things that, you know, everyone else in my family refused to talk about. So you know, I pray her soul finds peace, because I can't imagine what she went through. But yeah, so it kind of started back then. And then, you know, I believe there were things done to my dad as well when he was a child that he probably will never talk about or ever really want to work through. He's too shut down for that. And so I know that I came in as basically the generational curse breaker to heal all of these wounds in my family that have been there for many generations, lifetimes. And yeah, there's so much I could get into, but that's pretty much, I think, a good overview of my past and how I got here, and you know, some of the ways in which I
Oh, crap.
sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, a phone call came in. I tried to
I
hang
was
up before it to
like,
go through.
I was like,
Anyway,
no. Okay,
yeah,
good.
okay, we're good. Anyway, little blip, glitch in the matrix.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, oh, there was one last thing I was just about to say, and the phone call totally took me out of it. Okay, if it comes back to me, I'll say it. It was something to do with like the connection between Yeshua and the SRA stuff and like yoga and like the healing practices I've done. So yeah, if it comes back to me, I'll say it. But I would like at some point to maybe talk about also how or just share about my ET experiences and UFO experiences and how that also ties into all of this as well. But yeah, I'll pause here if you have any questions or anywhere you want to go from here.
Yeah, well, firstly, I'm just so grateful that you're sharing your story with our audience and that um, you inspire others to share their story once their story is integrated and understood and they're able and ready to share their stories. But I think the more that people come out and talk about the things that have happened to them, the more we can shine light in the darkness, that we can show that there's the whole system of control. And I kind of want to go back to this idea of the Godfather being an obstetrician, and the idea that I think a lot of these secret societies are aware of incoming souls through the natal charts, through the time
Oh
and
yeah.
place of birth, and they just intercept like from the beginning. Like, and so it, in my research, that seems to be like they're like targeted from birth, literally.
Yes, and that is what I believe happened to me, right? And that's what I've also heard my other like whistleblower friends say as well, that these people, they know who we are when we come into these bodies, when we incarnate. And yeah, they somehow are able to track through our astrological charts and other means that, who we are as a soul and what we're here to do. And so, right, what I've been shown is what these cabal families like the Rothschilds will do. All of these families as part of the network, as they call themselves, they will purposely groom and raise children in these families to become doctors, lawyers, cops, what have you, whatever role they deem you as best for you to play in their little game. That's what they're going to groom you to become. So I do believe that my Godfather was probably groomed from a young age to play this role, and he was installed as I believe a fake doctor, actually. And again, this is allegedly, okay, but I honestly question whether he was actually truly a licensed doctor. Going to put that out there too. They're able to just put their people in wherever they need to, and yes, they absolutely use black magic and cloaking technology and things like that to manipulate people into getting into these positions, right? Into allowing them into these positions. And yes, my Godfather is definitely, from what I've been shown, a full-blown Draco reptilian. He is extremely aggressive and unpleasant, and that's a nice way of putting it. So I question whether he actually was ever a real doctor, or whether he somehow just got into that position so that he could get his hands on as many children as possible and essentially traffic children, get them into these trafficking rings. Again, allegedly, I cannot prove this, okay, but that's what I've been shown. So also the hospital where I was born, I've looked into this, conveniently burned down a few years after I was born. So there's that too. They literally will cover, yes, they literally know how to cover their tracks on every level. So like if I were to ever try to track down any other original copies of my birth certificate, there is no way to do that because the hospital doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. So,
I can relate. I'll just say that.
Okay. Yeah. I know you understand. Yeah. How these things work. So yeah. And the fact that, right, he was a doctor and had easy access, not only to all of these children, right, but also all the drugs. These doctors have access to as many drugs as they want, and they will use them in these rituals to, you know, put you out essentially and get you out of your body so that you don't remember. And, you know, I know that that was a big part of like what was happening to me as a child. I believe that I was being drugged before being taken to rituals and things like that. And that was part of the reason why, like, I literally wasn't in my body. I was just out of my body because, you know, that's what happens when these drugs take over, like literally. And if we want to go into the whole like big pharma and, you know, even the word pharmaceuticals, which is based on the ancient Greek word pharmakia, which literally means sorcery. Okay. This stuff is in our face, guys. And the caduceus, the symbol for the medical world, is literally two snakes intertwined to represent the DNA spiral. And what do you think the snakes are meant to represent? The reptilian DNA, guys. Like, it's right in our face. Like, they're telling us who runs the medical industry. It is the reptilian consciousness. And they're using the pharmaceuticals. They are literally using the pharmakia, the sorcery, to keep us locked down, keep us oppressed through the drugs. And I've actually heard, this might sound crazy to some people, but it's really not. They understand and they know that every single drug has a demon attached to it that is represented by that pharmaceutical, right? By that drug. And I've literally heard and seen videos of people having exorcisms done. And the guy is literally asking the demon in this person, like, what are you? Tell me your name. Like, how did you, you know, come into this person? And the demons have outright admitted through the drugs, through the pharmakia, that's how we're getting into people. And so for me, I'm like, yeah. So basically, the cabal knows that if they can drug people through the pharmaceutical industry, through big pharma, through the medical industrial complex, right? If they can get you on these medications, they can control your consciousness. That's what this all is about. Them trying to just control our consciousness on a mass level. So, and keep our frequency down. And that's also what these drugs do. They keep us in a very locked down state, very low vibrational state. And, you know, as a sound healer and a musician, this is one of the big things that I know I'm here to teach and share, is about vibrational medicine and the power of frequency and vibration and how it can heal, and how literally everything in our reality is a frequency. So how the cabal, or we're in a frequency war, guys. That's what's going on here on planet Earth. We're in a frequency war, a spiritual war, and a consciousness war. Like, they're trying to oppress us in every way possible through not only the drug supply, right? Not only through the drugs, but also through the food supply, the water supply, the air with the chemtrails. Like, they're literally trying to poison us on all levels, because if they can keep our vibration down, they know that we'll never be able to grow and ascend into the powerful beings that we're actually meant to be. and already are, actually, that we're just here to remember who we already are, right? So I've seen and experienced directly how the medical industrial complex is very much involved, pretty much at the top of this whole satanic agenda going on planet Earth right now. Controlling people through big pharma, through the drugs, is one of their main ways that they are keeping people down, and attaching these entities and these, demons to people, literally, is through these substances. So yeah, so honestly, in my humble opinion, the number one thing that we need most on planet Earth right now is fucking exorcists. Okay, people who can actually know how to spiritually exorcise these people from these things, and also know how to help people detox their body on a physical level from these things as well. Because parasites are also a big part of this whole thing, because basically the demons are parasites and vice versa. They're pretty one and the same. And I believe that the parasites in our bodies are the physical, literal manifestations of the spiritual demons that are around us, right? And that's getting into us through the food supply, mainly, in the water. So they're trying to, basically, the cabal and this reptilian force that is essentially controlling this matrix right now, right? What they're trying to do is control us on all levels through frequency, and oppress us through frequency. So if they can control every aspect of our lives and the main mechanisms through which our bodies connect to the world, that's how they're keeping us down, and that's how they have all the power. So look at what's happened. Like, look at what happened in 2020 and everything since then, right? Like, that was the biggest psychological warfare experiment ever inflicted upon humanity, all to get us to take a jibby jab, that they were claiming was safe and effective. It was anything but that. It's a freaking bioweapon. And
with
that's
luciferase in it.
exactly. There's all kinds of, and the graphene oxide, all of the black
Snake
goo,
venom.
essentially. Yeah, snake venom, all kinds of crazy shit that were in. I don't believe all of them were real. I believe a lot of them were placebos, which is why you don't see nearly as many people dropping dead left and right now. However, we both know what was really in the real ones, right? And all of everything that happened in 2020, all was just for that. So they could get that in as many people as possible and take over even further the minds of humanity through this bioweapon. And I've also been shown, again, going back to the definition of pharmakia, sorcery. Listen, I'm not saying there isn't a place for allopathic medicine in this world. Like, if I accidentally got my arm chopped off somehow, right? Obviously, I'm going to be like, take me to the hospital so you can sew my freaking arm back on, right? Hopefully. But, there's so many things that we literally don't need Western medicine for, that Eastern medicine, herbalism, Chinese medicine, energy medicine can all heal without the use of any drugs, any surgery, any of that. And that's what I've been studying for the last, 10 plus years, is how energy actually does heal the body, and how if you know how to control the flow of energy through your body and direct it in a specific way, and how you make the body itself feel safe and heard, that's ultimately what allows that trauma to finally feel free to release. You know what I mean? And so again, it's all about the frequency. So it's like, they know how to they target us from birth. Again, these reptilian negative ET overlords, right? That are even above these earthly cabal families. They know who people like me are, the star seeds, the light warriors. They know who our souls are before we incarnate here. They somehow are able to track us down through, right, our astrology charts, through other means. And they then will actually plan out how they're going to oppress and manipulate us. Yeah, they know that too. They're very good at psychological manipulation. We have to remember that, guys. They are extremely knowledgeable when it comes to psychology and how the human mind works. They know down to the nth degree how to control human consciousness and get us to react in certain ways, right? Problem, reaction, solution, the Hegelian dialect. This is their whole MO, right? Like that's what all of these like false flags and worldly events that they do is. They create the problem, they know how we're going to react, and then they offer the solution that they already had the whole time. So we have to understand how we begin to heal from these things, whether you're a survivor of SRA or not, whether you're friends with someone who is or not, or you've been through other types of abuse in your life. Anyone who's been through any sort of trauma, what we have to understand is everything comes down to frequency and vibration first and foremost. And our trauma gets trapped in our bodies, in our muscles. And if we have to work and heal on releasing our own stuff first. And honestly, the best method I have found is through, yes, frequency and vibrational medicine, sound healing, right? Using specific frequencies and sounds and instruments in a particular way on the body, even saying certain words, affirmations, getting clients to say certain words and affirmations out loud to their own bodies to tell them it's safe, literally is the most effective way and quickest way to heal. Oftentimes I've literally seen it happen with my own eyes. Like, you know, instantaneous healing is possible. We do not need all this other like stuff in between. I mean, yes, is it still good to focus on your diet and what you're eating and all of these things? Yes, absolutely. But like, I feel like too many people are not, how do I say this? I'm all about balance. Okay. That's another, I feel like one of my main messages that I'm here to reiterate. Everything comes down to balance and moderation. Okay. There's too many extremes going on in this world right now. It's like people are either way too focused on the physical and not at all on the spiritual, or they're too focused on the spiritual and not at all on the physical. Baby, we need to bring both together. Okay. It's about the yin and the yang. Okay. Both come together and both are equally valid and need to be addressed. So like, I feel like the last few years for me, bringing it up to now, the present, has really been about basically putting me through the ringer to teach me how to like spiritually protect myself from like the darkness as well. And, you know, using Palo Santo, salt baths, surrounding your house with black salt, using rose water, all of these things are definitely good physical things you can do to help protect you. Okay. And also, yeah, just prayer. Like if I ever feel any darkness around me, the first two things I immediately do, number one, I say out loud very firmly, I rebuke you now in the name of Christ. Please leave now. You do not have permission to be here. And number two, I then pray and I ask and call in protection from Yeshua, from God's source, from all of the angels, from all of my divine protectors. And that's one thing that I really is probably the saddest thing for me that I've seen with a lot of SRA survivors, is because of the nature of their abuse. Oftentimes what abusers will do is they'll mock and they'll try to negatively associate Yeshua with, like, again, they invert everything, right? So they try to make him the bad guy so that they make you believe that he doesn't love you. He'll never be there for you. He's not your protector or whatever. That's a fucking lie. Okay. That's a fucking lie. Yeshua loves you and he will always come to you if you call on him. So like as an SRA survivor, I understand. I understand if you have been negatively programmed to associate him with evil and with the bad, and to believe that he's not, you know, that you can't trust him. But I'm here to tell you, you can. Okay. So sometimes it's really just about like opening your heart to that possibility, and which I understand can be the hardest thing of all for some survivors. So I totally empathize with that. But honestly, I can say, um, he is here to be, to fight for us, man. Like he's our homeboy. Like he's one of us, dude. Like they took him out too. Like he came here just to show us how to be better human beings. And what did we do? We hung him on a fucking cross to die. So, and that is why, but he also was genuinely one of the most powerful beings that's ever incarnated here on planet Earth. And that is why they're so threatened by him. That's why they are so hateful towards especially Christians. And I don't even consider, so when people ask me like what my spiritual beliefs are, I'm kind of an enigma. I'm definitely not religious. I would not call myself Christian, even though I do definitely have a very direct connection to Yeshua. But I do not buy into any of the dogmatic, like churchy stuff. Like that's all to me like unnecessary. It's all about your direct connection and relationship with him, period. So, and as you and I have discussed before, it sounds like we're both kind of more what I would call the ancient Gnostic Christians, like the original Christians, right? Like, that's what I resonate most with at this point, because for many years I also just called myself spiritual, and was very much in like the new age or the new cage movement, as I call it now. But even a lot of that is a lie and a trap. So I've really had to do a lot of work to kind of figure out like, okay, what is actually the truth here and what's not. And the conclusion I've come to is Yeshua is real, God is real, demons and angels and ETs and UFOs, all of it's real, right? And we have to, learn how to discern all of it, and know that we can call upon and have a relationship with Yeshua, but we don't necessarily have to go to church or be a part of a church on Sunday to be like accepted by him. That's another like thing I want to make crystal clear, because I think there's a lot of people out there who genuinely believe like, oh, I'm a bad Christian, or I'm not Christian enough because I don't go to church, or like Jesus isn't going to love me if I don't go to church. Like, no, 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 no. Okay. That's all. No, let's stop. None of that's true. Okay. Going to church has nothing to do with it. I've never felt God in a church, if I'm being completely honest. I feel God the most out in nature, out in the natural worlds that God actually created, right? And so for me, I respect all religions, well, except the Satanists, right? It's a whole nother thing. But I just like want anyone out there who might be questioning, who's listening to this, like questioning, like, oh man, like, I don't really know where I stand with this, like, because I don't really jive with Christianity or the New Age or any of this other stuff either. So I'm also kind of in between. Am I like a bad person? No. Like, God source does not care if you question these things. Like, the true God source will love you unconditionally, does love you unconditionally. That I know beyond any shadow of a doubt. And so for me, yeah, I guess after everything I've been through, after everything I've seen, all the other stories I've heard, other, friends of mine who've gone through similar things, the most and best thing anyone could do for us at this point is just listen with an open mind and an open heart, be kind and be compassionate, and try not to be judgmental, because we've already encountered enough of that in our lives, and it doesn't help anybody heal. The thing that helps people heal is feeling like they're safe, feeling like they're heard and they're seen, and that they're not being judged, that they're actually being supported and welcomed. And sadly, in our world today, especially in the Western world, I feel like most people do the opposite of that. They shun people like me. They reject the people they don't understand instead of drawing them in closer and being curious and wanting to understand more. And instead of asking questions to dig deeper, instead they'll just shut down and run away or push you away. And it's that is by far the biggest hindrance to people like me healing, and also by proxy all of humanity healing. Because if those of us who've gone through the deepest, darkest trauma are not allowed to heal, the rest of humanity is never going to heal either. Like, we have to be able to heal, and then our light is then going to spread out and ripple through the collective, right? That is literally what we're here to do. So, yeah, that's kind of my, think that's a good place to pause for, yeah, my message around healing. Yeah.
I have noticed that it was through alchemizing the darkest of experiences, being betrayed by those that should have loved and supported you and fed you to the wolves,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing the scale of obstacles that were sent your way from birth because of the line that you came from, the soul tribe that you hail from, and yet you persevered through that, and you've been healing and alchemizing through that, and through just being, your light shines. And I am truly inspired by you, by your healing journey, by your music, by your just awareness of all that is. And you you're you're still standing, you're still here, you're still shining. Like, I think that souls like you that incarnate are the embodied examples. I think a lot about Christ consciousness, and I agree that it's not necessarily, I don't care what one's cosmology is. If you're doing, if you understand objective right versus wrong, just basic objective morality, like,
Exactly.
whatever your cosmology is doesn't matter. Like, just
Yep.
if we can embody the Christ consciousness within ourselves, and you've done that. And yeah, I'm very inspired. And the Christ figure, whether, people may debate the veracity, right? And it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter, because there is the living example through you, through others that have incarnated. That those that incarnate with this consciousness, we're here to show the rest of the populace how we could be through being. And I am aware that there's this persecution ritual, and sometimes I'm like, and
Yep.
we've talked about this offline, but why do these evolved souls have to go through so much hardship? And then I'm like,
Yeah.
It's through the hardship, it's through the integration of the dark and the light that you've become this luminous being. Do you see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's like I'm like
Totally.
pissed off that like souls like you have had to endure so much evil and heartache and just trials and tribulations, isolation, psychological attacks, all of that, no support. And yet it's through that you've become this, yeah, just illuminated being. And so it's like, I'm kind of like, I feel both. I feel both.
Yeah. Yeah, no. And I also just remembered the thing that I was going to say earlier. As you were talking, it came back in my memory. So I am going to bring this up again. Thank you for that. Yes. And all of what you said is very true. And this also ties into what I was going to say earlier. So once I realized who like my father really was, who my godfather really was, who all these people really were, and what they, you know, really did to me as a child, and what the truth was, yes, it was really hard to accept at first. And yeah, admittedly, I was very angry and pissed off and like, what the fuck, man? Like, how could you do this to me? I was a child. But then it was after God showed me who these people really were, like underneath the facade, and really what all these, evil people involved in these sick satanic cults are. They're just a bunch of reptilian toddlers, man, who really fucking have no idea. Well, they do know what they're doing on some level, but they also don't. It's a very like low level, childish, immature consciousness in the
Yeah.
sense that um they're just like, I want what I want when I want it right now, and if I can't get what I want, then everyone else is going to suffer. Like literally that's what it is. And so they have not evolved past this. So we literally have to treat them like they're children. And we have to, you know what I mean? I'm not saying don't need to take responsibility for what they've done. They absolutely do need to take accountability. Okay? And you will be held to the fire when, in the spiritual courts, when they're evaluating like your karma during your life review. Oh yeah, you'll have to pay for that eventually. So, you know, God will take care of them when it's their time. But that's literally how I had to start seeing these people in order to find some level of like forgiveness towards them, or like, or even being able to take that step towards forgiving them, which, if I'm being honest, like, I've forgiven my parents, I've forgiven my family. I've had to ask Yeshua to forgive my godfather on my behalf because I just can't bring myself to do that, because he was the ringleader, right? He was kind of the orchestrator of all of that shit. So that one, I don't know if I'm truly going to be able to forgive him in this human body, if I'm being honest. Like, that might take until I pass away as well to fully rectify that within my own soul. But that's for me and me alone, right? But yeah, we have to see these people and these beings for who they really are. They're a bunch of reptilian toddlers, and their level of consciousness is far beneath us light warriors, right? Like, we are highly evolved beings. And I've told you this off camera, maybe I should share this again. So one of the most powerful visions I've ever received, and I've had many powerful visions over the years, many confirmations, many crazy synchronicities that have like confirmed a lot of things, even when I was questioning a lot of this stuff, which I have. And just for the record, if anyone is questioning my legitimacy of my story, or you think I'm making this up, trust me, I have questioned myself 100 times over with all of this shit. Okay. I've already questioned myself more than any of you ever will. So if anyone has wondered if I'm crazy long before I came forward. It's me. Okay. So like, I'm not out here trying to like say like, yeah, you have to believe every single thing I say. Like, no, please question when look into these things for yourself. Right. Um, so I
Can I
don't
just,
expect anyone to just
yeah.
like, automatically, you know, anyway, but yes, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say you gain nothing from sharing this. All,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know,
I'm not being paid
there's
to do this. Yeah, absolutely.
why would anyone question your motives when you literally gain nothing but the potential for ridicule, the potential for ostracism,
Yeah.
like
And that's
there's
what people
really
don't
nothing to be
understand.
gained from
Exactly.
lying. So you might as
Exactly.
well tell the truth.
And that's exactly what most people don't understand. The people who still question people like me, it's like, do you really think like I have anything to gain from saying this? No, if anything, I'm about to lose everything, right? Like I'm actually risking more than I'm gaining anything. But for some reason, a lot of people still seem to think people like me make this shit up, like I'm doing this for attention or whatever. No, absolutely not. I'm like, I wish this wasn't my life story. I wish that I had a normal life, guys. I really do. Like, in fact, that's brought me a lot of like heartache and disappointment. The fact that I have had to realize and rectify within myself that I'm never going to have a normal life, that I'm never going to be just like a normal human, that I'm always going to have to deal with some level of this craziness, right? Because of who I am. Um, and that's hardest on me more than anyone else. Okay. So just so I'm clear, if anyone out there is doubting what I'm saying, believe me, I've already doubted myself and questioned myself so many times over before finally coming to the conclusion that this shit is real and I can't deny it anymore. So just want to state that for the record. But yeah, getting back to so yeah, oh, the vision. Okay. So I've been gifted many visions over the years, by my higher self, my guides, through not only meditation, but, different plant medicine ceremonies, shamanic work, what have you, right? That's how a lot of the darker, deeper memories have come to the surface. And it was actually in a vision on Christmas Day of all days, in 2023, that I was gifted probably the most powerful vision I've ever had. And it was actually a vision of my pre-birth soul contract meeting before I incarnated into this body. And it was so real and so vivid. Um, and essentially what happened was, so I asked to be shown by source that day, because that I was going through so much at the time. A lot of emotional turmoil, a lot of just confusion and questioning of myself and who am I really and what is my purpose here. And so, and I was very isolated at the time. I was going through a lot of like gang stalking and other things like that, because I was waking up more to who I was. So in 2023, I basically went through another level of awakening where I was being shown who I am personally as a soul in relation to this whole reality in this matrix and why I was asked to come here. So just context for what I'm about to say. So I actually asked Source that day before I went into meditation, I want to know what was in my soul contract before I came here. Like, what did I actually agree to? And boy, was I shown very vividly. So I was literally called in by Source and my spirit team. There was different angels, ET beings, all standing around this round table. And I was called into this meeting, and they literally basically requested me that I go back to planet Earth to basically do a job that, quote, nobody else could do, that I was the only one strong enough, I guess, to take on this task, which I do believe was essentially not only trying to heal my own like family's generational curses, right? Be the generational curse breaker in my bloodline, but also to help basically take down this dark group my dad was a part of from the inside out, right? To shine a light on it and help dismantle it. So, and then by proxy, all these other connected groups. So, they basically asked me to come here, and I was very hesitant because I was like, I don't know about that, man. Like, planet Earth is a fucking crazy place. I don't know if I really want to go back there, but they essentially convinced me that this was like the only way to do this. So I said yes. And next thing you know, I'm going through a freaking wormhole, and I'm coming out of my mother's, birth canal. And my godfather, who is my mom's doctor, is standing there, and I can see him in his true reptilian form. He was a full-blown Draco reptilian wearing a white lab coat with glasses. And I was just like, wow, okay. So like, so my little soul knew exactly who he was from the second I got here. And he knew who I was. And we've had other past lives together that I've been shown where we've kind of been enemies for a while, and we've kind of been going back and forth, taking each other out. So it's not surprising this is the role he's playing in this lifetime as well. He's not going to win in this lifetime either. Just FYI, I've already won, so he can stop. But suffice to say, it's like my soul was shown that day that I knew who I was before coming in here. I was a very high level, like, angel, basically, from like the 12th dimension before I came down here. I'm part of the angelic army, very high ranking, and I'm basically a natural demon slayer. Me and Yeshua, right? Like our whole bloodline kind of is. So we were literally built to take on these darker beings. And I now understand, as hard as this role was to take on, why they asked me to do it. Because here's the thing, I'm actually not afraid of the reptilians. I'm not afraid of these beings. Bring it on, man. Like, I will take you out. Like, I don't care. Like, all of these other humans, I get it. They are scary. They are very overbearing, very aggressive beings, but I see right through them, and I know they see who I am too. So I've literally had like encounters with and maybe we can go into the ET stuff now. But I've definitely had encounters with what I'll say are reptilian beings in the flesh, not just with my godfather, but like and I've never seen one shapeshift in front of me like with my 3D physical eyes, right? But I definitely have seen it in my third eye, like full blown. And I can see when a reptilian being is literally trying to like mind control another person. I've seen it being done right in front of me. Like, it's a very hypnotic energy. They know exactly what to say. Like, they're very good with the word magic. They're very good with the word magic. Okay. So that's another way, by the way, that humanity can start to heal and get out from under the spell of these beings. Start really looking at the English language and learning how much of a spell it actually is, like spelling, literally casting spells on people. And we're casting spells with our words. And a lot of the English language is actually inverted. And what we think we're saying, we're actually saying the opposite. So like, that's one thing people can start to kind of look at and really deconstruct is, wow, what are like the words I'm saying every day, and what spells am I casting subconsciously without even knowing it, right? That are actually feeding into these people's agenda, these beings' agenda. So if you can deconstruct their word magic and you can see through it, you can counter it with your own positive word magic and affirmations, right? Like that's what affirmations are for. I am loved. I am worthy. I am seen. I am heard. I am beautiful. I am love. I'm light, whatever, right? Whatever. That is one of the biggest things that starts to counteract their word magic and their spell casting over humanity. Okay. So just want to make that clear. I've seen it and I've literally done it with my own, like I'll start speaking the opposite of whatever I feel like they're saying out loud at the same time. And I can see they will literally look at me. If they like, if I'm across the room and I'm looking at someone, they'll know and they'll look at me. I've had to confront them before actually. So, you know, so like, yeah, let's talk about the UFOs and ETs for a second, shall we? Because
Yeah.
that also big time ties into all of this. And that's another thing that honestly really bothers me about the like disclosure truther community is so many people still fail to see the deep connection between Satanism and these ETs and
Yep.
especially the reptilians and the negative grays. Like they are one in the like the reptilians are the ones who are controlling the families who are the Satanists and playing out the satanic agenda on this planet, and the reptilians are basically teaching them these satanic practices because they're really reptilian in nature. You know, like we are literally, let's just be honest, Earth is a farm. The Matrix is a farm essentially for these beings. They see us as a food source, which is another reason they have to work so hard to suppress us and keep us down. It's because we are food for them. So if they, you know, it's like, look at a regular farm, micro the macro, right? If the cows started to become aware of the fact that they live in a slaughterhouse and they're about to be slaughtered, would they not try to rebel and break out? Probably, right? So the way they keep the cows and all the other animals on the farm from realizing that they're about to be slaughtered is to keep them suppressed on all levels and from knowing that they're actually food, right? So they keep them dumbed down to a very low level of consciousness. That's what they're trying to do with us here. Keep us at such a low level of consciousness that we don't realize that we are literally a food source for them. So we play right into their game, and then they loosh off of our negative, dark, fear-based energy, right? That's also why they're constantly pumping all the fear porn into the collective through the media. They're trying to get all of us in this low, fear-based, very anxious state so they can come in and loosh off of us, right? Like,
Broadcast programming.
yes, casting spells through the broadcast and the programming through the programming. Yeah, and it's all the same verbiage too. Notice how, right, the words for like broadcasting and media are the same as it's all tied together, people. Anyway, so but yeah, so the ET UFO agenda and the satanic agenda very much connected. Very much connected. We cannot keep seeing them as like separate, okay? They're connected. They're one and the same. So, let's talk about what's happening on planet Earth right now. Let's bring it up to speed. So like I've had many encounters over the years with various UFOs, ET beings, especially through dreams and meditation. Um, and like what I've seen and what I believe happening on planet Earth right now, that they're like, why are they doing disclosure now? Why now as opposed to like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, like whenever, you know, like I believe people have been ready for disclosure for a long time and they keep trying to gaslight us and make us seem like oh no, humanity's really not ready for the truth. Yes, we fucking are. We're ready, dude. We're ready. Most people can handle it at this point, I think. So way back in, I mean, I've kind of always known since I was a kid, right, that ETs and UFOs were real, never doubted it. But I didn't have my first actual physical encounter until I think it was 2013. And actually, this is kind of a funny story. Maybe I'll share this. So my first time seeing a UFO in person was, so at the time, I was living in an apartment in Seattle with three other people. They were all in a like polyamorous relationship together. I was in my own separate monogamous relationship with my own boyfriend at the time. Anyway, so it was two girls and one guy. One of the girls who I was closer friends with out of the two of them, we'll call her Jamie. It's not her real name. But anyway, so one night, this was before right before I ended up moving into this apartment with these people myself. This was maybe like a week or two before. So I was actually still sleeping out on like the couch in the living room at the time. And this particular night, I had just had a conversation earlier in the evening with Jamie about the subject of UFOs and how like, and I basically told her, I'm like, yeah, I know I've always believed in them. I know they're real, and I've asked for them to show themselves to me, and I've still never seen one. And like, I still know that they're real, even if they never show themselves to me. But like, man, would it be cool to finally see one in person, you know? And she just goes, like, without hesitation, she's like, you know, I think you might actually just see one sooner than you think. And I don't know if like that was her literally creating like putting us on a timeline that where this actually then happened or what, or she just knew that this was going to happen. I don't know. But I swear on my life, she said this. And then literally that night,
Wow.
I'm sleeping out on the couch in the living room of this apartment. And so Jamie and the guy, it was their night to be in the bedroom together. Okay. So they were in the bedroom together. I'm out on the couch. I don't know where the third girl was, but I literally had a dream while sleeping on the couch that Jamie and the guy came out of their bedroom, walked over to me, sat down next to me on the edge of the couch, and just started like singing lullabies to me and like stroking my hair softly like that. And I swear on my life, I wake up and Jamie is actually doing that. She is sitting on the edge of the bed and like stroking my hair and softly like saying something to me like, hey, are you awake? Da, 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 da. And I'm like, so yeah, I wake up and I'm like, what's going on? Like, why? Wait, what time is it? Why are you here? Wait, I just had a dream. I just dreamed that this was happening and now it's actually happening. Wait, I was so disoriented, dude. I really didn't know what was happening. And I'm like, wait, what time is it? She's like, oh, it's like 3:30 in the morning. I'm like, why are you waking me up at 3:30 in the morning? She's like, I don't know. I couldn't sleep. And I thought maybe you might want to like smoke a bowl or something. So I'm like, all right, well, now that I'm up, yeah, sure. So we then go into what would become my bedroom, which was still empty, but nonetheless, we're sitting on the floor, looking out the window, smoking a bowl, chit-chatting, whatever. I'm watching the sky outside the window. And by the way, so at the time we lived in an apartment building in North Seattle, and we were on the top floor of this apartment building. And we could see, like, we had a pretty epic view. We could see Mount Rainier, downtown Seattle, like all this shit, like out of our window. So you could see the whole sky is what I'm saying. You could see all the planes and everything flying by. So like, you know, and also another thing I should probably throw in here. I also grew up right next to a military base, a major one, Fort Lewis. Literally grew up right across the lake from Fort Lewis and heard mortars and shit going off that would shake our entire house growing up. So like I'm used to seeing all kinds of like planes, including military planes and stuff, which is why I felt like the need to throw that in there. Okay, I know what different kinds of planes look like, guys. And I'm telling you, what I saw was definitely not a plane. So I'm looking out the window and I see this orange light just like traveling in a straight line like that all the way across the sky. And I'm just, something's telling me to watch this. So I'm just watching. Jen's talking to me. I'm listening, but I'm really focusing on this orange light in the sky. And right, like, as I'm about, well, okay, so then I finally say to her, I'm like, hey, see that orange light out the window? And then she finally turns and looks and she's like, oh yeah. So now we're both watching it. And like right after I say that to her, it fucking stops and then goes immediately back the other direction.
Wow.
Which is physically impossible. Okay. There's no way a plane can just stop midair and then go do basically a 180 immediately within a second. No, that's just not physically possible. So we're like both freaking out now, like, oh my God, I think that's a UFO. That's a fucking UFO. What? Oh my God, wait. And you just said earlier that you thought I was going to see one. What is happening here? Like it was a full on like, holy shit, we manifested this type moment. And so, yeah, that was the first time I saw a UFO. It was in the middle of the night after this weird, like dream that became real thing. And then I saw it. And then there was a few other times in that same apartment where I saw even more of the same kind of orange lights. In fact, there was one night we actually like went like chasing after them. I'm not even kidding. To try to follow them. They were like, it was like one orange light would pop up out of nowhere and then another orange light would pop up and then another one, and they would make this triangle formation. And then like they would just be kind of hanging out there for a while. And then as soon as we would start to lose interest or excitement, one would go away and then another one would go away. But it was always just the one. The one was there the whole time. And then these other lights would come in. So, you know, that it all started in that apartment. Okay. With those people. And there was a lot of other crazy shit that happened that I won't get into now, but suffice to say, speaking of black magic, there was a lot of weird stuff related to that going on in that apartment. So I do believe that might be partially the reason why I had that experience in that particular apartment with those people. So anyway, and then fast forward to, I think it was 2018. So that was in 2013. Then in 2018, I went to a conference down in Mount Shasta. It was my second time going to Mount Shasta, which is beautiful and epic, by the way. If you can ever make it out there, go. But it was after, I think it was the first night of the conference. I wasn't staying at the campground with everybody else, but I was invited to go to the campground with one of the girls that I met at the conference who was staying there. So we go down the campground and everyone's hanging out, just chilling. And then there was a sky watch that night. And they had a few pairs of like the, what do you call them, night vision goggles being passed around. And it was me and like at least 30 to 50 other people. Like it was a lot of people there watching, right? So a lot of witnesses. And also every single time I've seen a UFO, there's been at least one or more witnesses. So there's that. Which I know, like, I know it's real. I don't question these things because I'm not the only one who saw it. You can go ask these other people too who were there. We all know what we saw. But over the course of literally probably only an hour that night, there were like 8 different ships that we saw.
Wow.
In the sky of all different kinds, like ones that would like, they call them like flashers or something like that, but like it'll just be like nothing, and then a bright light will just come out of nowhere, become real big, and then shoop, like disappear again. Definitely saw one of those. Saw, you know, ones doing crazy weird like formations and shapes in the sky that are definitely not normal. Yeah. Did not expect that at all. Again, saw a bunch in like, yeah, under an hour. Like it
Wow.
wasn't even all night. It was like pretty condensed. So, that was just more confirmation for me that like, wow, okay, we're definitely not alone. I already knew that, but like now they're actually showing themselves and talking to us. Like, cool. And then, but I would say the most experiences I've had, and most prominent were in Sedona when I was there in spring of 2022. So for the first 6 months of 2022, I was doing the van life thing. I was traveling basically from the West Coast over here to the East Coast, which is where I am now and have been since. And Sedona was kind of the first major stop I had on that trip. I originally was only planning on being there for about 3 weeks and then ended up being there for like 2 months. So clearly the universe was trying to keep me there for longer for a reason. And I believe one of those reasons was um, so I could witness all of this like crazy UFO activity I saw there. So one of the guys that I met while I was down there, he runs UFO and vortex tours in Sedona. So he knows a lot about this stuff. He's also written a book about like the Anunnaki and whatnot. I'm not going to give his name either right now, maybe at a future time. But anyways, I ended up staying at his house for a couple weeks while I was there. While my van was getting fixed, it had a lot of electrical issues and stuff that needed to be worked on. So while I was staying at John's house, pretty much every single night, we would go out sky watching with his night vision goggles. And I swear within like, again, it didn't even take that long, like 5-10 minutes, we started seeing ships like right above his house, just nonstop ships.
Yeah.
And most of them you could only see through the night vision goggles. Dude, you can see so much more with night vision goggles. It's honestly insane, like how much activity is constantly going on up there. We just can't see it with the naked eye for the most part. But it was just nonstop ships, like right above his house. We didn't have to go anywhere. It was just right there. I even have a video that I've shown you of that I was able to capture through the night vision goggles of two light ships literally crossing paths like that, like on camera. It was pretty incredible. That was also above the house. So there was a lot that happened in Sedona in particular. And I also am still wondering what was happening on, I believe it was April 1st of 2022, because that day in particular was pretty wild. Literally, so it was me and my friend who I was staying with, and he had another friend come over, another guy friend. So it was me and those two all sitting out on his little porch. And it started that morning and continued everywhere we went in Sedona that day. And we went all over Sedona, like many different places. So we literally saw fucking Chinook and Black Hawk helicopters just flying over us, directly over us in Sedona. And I'm like, what's going on? There's no military bases around here. Have you ever seen this before? And he's like, no, never seen this before in all the years I've lived here. This is weird. I don't know. So it started over his house. So they were flying over his house that morning, and we're like, what the hell? Then we go to brunch down the street. They're flying over us at the brunch place. Then we go all the way down to the creek, all the way on the edge of town. They're there at the creek too. I'm like, yo. So yeah, I've definitely had like military interference. I've had the military helicopters follow me, and friends of mine out of nowhere. Sedona was probably one of the most like obvious, but it's happened to me elsewhere too. So I still to this day, I'm like, what the hell was going on April 1st? Because some shit was going down. Oh, I'm also, you know what? I think that might have been the day too that the most prominent UFO sighting I've ever had, which was also in Sedona. Me and him were driving back to his house from dinner one night. We went to get pizza. We're driving back from the pizza place. It was only like 5 minutes down the street, and I'm not exaggerating. Okay. So in that 5 minute drive, not even that long on the road, we're driving back down the 89A east toward his house. And he goes, "Oh my God, look." And he like points to the left on his side of the car. There's a freaking, it's like pretty big. Like it looks like a pretty big ball of like rainbow changing LED light in the sky. That's literally, it was just like a rainbow changing orb that was just hanging out right there in the sky in front of Thunder Mountain. And we're just like, whoa, what the hell? What the hell? So I go to like get my phone to try and like film it, right? As soon as I look away, he goes, "Shit, it just disappeared and flew up over Thunder Mountain and now it's gone." And I'm like, man, but here's the kicker. The next day, we went to go get lunch at, it's called the Chocolate Tree. It's a pretty famous like vegan place in Sedona. If you know, you know. So we're standing in line at the Chocolate Tree. And we're talking about the UFO that we saw last night. We're like, yeah, man, that was fucking crazy, right? Like, what the hell? Like, and it was at like 7:30 at night too. And there was a lot of other cars on the road. So we were like, somebody else had to see this, dude. Like, you know, like there was a lot of people out on the road who could have seen it. Guy behind us in line, right behind us in line, literally chimes in out of nowhere and goes, "Oh yeah, you guys saw that shit too?" And we're like, "Really, dude? Really?" He's like, "Yeah, it looked like this and it was going east down the 89." And we're like, "Yeah,
Wow.
yeah." So confirmation right there, didn't even ask for it. So definitely we know that multiple people witnessed that one. Okay. So that was by far the craziest one because it was the closest, it was the lowest to the ground, and it was like the most obvious clear cut, like, you know, that's not from here. Like, where did that come from? So Sedona is a crazy place. If you want to experience some strangeness in your life, go to Sedona because I guarantee you some weird shit will happen to you there.
There are a lot of sightings in that area specifically, for sure.
Yes, and it's because of like the vortexes there, and the energy is, it's the veil is a lot thinner in Sedona for sure. Like that's why there's so much paranormal activity there. I believe it's why, you know, the Native Americans, the Hopi also were like around that area, you know, back in the day. And but they didn't live there, by the way. I didn't know this till recently. The Hopi never really lived in Sedona. They would only go visit there, go do like ceremonies and stuff there, because they considered it so, like, they knew the power of the energy there. So they were like, yeah, we respect this too much and we're not gonna like mess with this. So, you know, I believe part of the reason why it's kind of become the way it is now, which unfortunately I feel like Sedona has been kind of tainted by a lot of darkness over the years, sadly, is because, again, it's like the cabal knows like how important these sacred sites are on planet Earth, like Sedona, like like Mount Shasta, like all these other sacred sites. They're trying to lock it down with the dark energy and target all the light beings that are attracted to these places that also live there, right? They're also trying to suppress us. So Sedona is a very interesting place. It's like very beautiful, tons of natural beauty, but also a lot of weird, like corrupt energy. So don't really feel called to go back there. I think I got what I needed out of that experience. But you know, yeah, if you want to be guaranteed to see some weird shit, go there. But anyway, there's a huge connection between all these different ET groups. And the cabal and the satanic agenda and what's going on here. And on the flip side, there's also all these benevolent ETs that are here to basically help us through um getting out of this situation that we're in right now, and also to help us heal and ascend right out of this. So I feel like there's a lot of like parts of the conversation around how these things fit together that either have just never been addressed by anyone publicly, or have just been vastly like misinterpreted, or just it's like we're only getting a teeny tiny bit of the truth. Like there's still more there. So because again, like there's like a lot of the Christians and religious people's perspective on this is that, and the way that like the media especially too is also spinning part of this narrative, and a lot of pastors out there are also being told this, apparently, to spin this narrative that like, oh, all ETs are negative and they're all evil and they're all demons in disguise and this, that, and the other. No, that is not true at all. There are definitely benevolent, loving light beings that also exist and are also here to help us and working with God source, working with the angelic realm. They are not evil, they are not demons, and we need to stop lumping all of them in together into the same category, because they're just not. Are
Right.
there definitely evil dark beings like the reptilians and the negative grays? Absolutely. But it's not either or, it's both and. Because there's also angels and demons, and they all play different roles. They all have different functions within reality and the universe, and well, the multiverse really, and within this matrix system. So to me, what's most important right now is kind of bridging the gap between all of these different like kind of individual discussions and these conspiracy theories, right? Or rather conspiracy facts, let's call them what it is. Okay, there's no such thing as a fucking theory anymore when it comes to these things. These things have been proven to be fact.
Yeah.
It's conspiracy realism, people. Okay, so all these different, we need to be able to bridge the gap between all of these different, conspiracies and these different rabbit holes and these different kind of topics, because what the cabal wants is for us to still see them as like different and disjointed and compartmentalized, so that we can't see the connection between all of them, because only through seeing the connection will we be able to then raise our consciousness above that and see it from a bird's eye view and actually figure out how to get ourselves out of this mess.
Right.
So like, the Christians want to believe that all ETs are bad and they're all just demons in disguise. The ET, disclosure people, a lot of them only want to believe that like it's all light and love beings, and they don't want to talk about the darker beings. They still don't want to talk about the reptilians. Like, it's crazy to me how many people just refuse to even talk about that subject, which should tell you the biggest and most important thing they don't want us talking about.
Right.
The thing that we need to be talking about the most is that, okay? Because that's what is clearly still being suppressed the most.
People don't get to pick and choose what evidence is convenient for them. If you
Exactly.
as an SRA survivor are also an ET contactee, in that you've seen the reptilian aspects of those that were involved in these rituals with you as a child, and if you've had further contact experiences, I, as a viewer, as a researcher, don't get to pick and choose what aspects of the evidence that you're bringing up as a primary source of information. I don't get to choose what's convenient and what's not convenient for me to absorb. I absorb it all.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's, I think the problem is too many people are picking and choosing what they want to believe based on what feels good to them. Right. And there is something to be said for, like, only take on information that truly resonates with you. Like, there is that. And I will say that is also a very real thing, right? Like, because there's a lot of bullshit and disinformation being spread too. And again, this comes back to honing your own intuition, discernment, learning how to know within yourself the feeling you get when you know something is true and when it's a lie. And I can tell when someone is lying to me, like, immediately, right? So I just go based on my own intuition. But right, too many people out here are just, they don't want to believe something that is uncomfortable or is going to upset their worldview. But guess what? Too bad. Like, that's just part of the awakening experience. You can't avoid that. That's what waking up is
Right.
about, is learning to see reality for what it is beyond what just feels comfortable to you or safe. The truth is often very harsh and not fun. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm one of those people who I would rather know the truth, as hard as it is, than live a lie. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
that's not what I came here to do. That's not the role I came here to play. And frankly, I kind of resent people who are still that stubborn at this point in time in 2026, digging their heels in, still refusing to wake up to even the most basic of things. You guys are making it harder for us, but I digress. So,
Yep.
but yeah, you can't, and that's literally what awakening is about, is realizing, like, life isn't what we thought it was, and it's not this pretty fun, like, you know, perfect thing. Like, there's all this other shit going on behind the scenes that we have to know about. We have to acknowledge so that we can actually start to do something about it.
Dude, literally, like, I told you this offline, but I've gone up to Christians and been like, wow, like, I've been doing a lot of research on satanic ritual abuse. You got to hear these survivor stories. And they're like, too dark. Or
Yeah,
like in
they
the
don't want to hear it.
contact, area, oh, let's, positive vibes only so that we can make contact with positive, beings. And I'm like, that's not literally, like, no, like, there is duality. There is evil. Evil's real. It's evil to ignore evil, actually.
Exactly. And I was just about to say the same thing. It is evil to ignore the evil. That is the true evil right there. Actively choosing to remain ignorant to the evil that is playing out right in front of you in real time. That is actually, you are contributing more to the satanic agenda, believe it or not, than you are a Christian. Sorry, not sorry. That's the truth. And time to swallow that pill. Okay. Like, either accept that and learn that maybe you're not on the right side of history, and maybe, learn to come on over to our side, and actually listen to these things, or don't call yourself a Christian, because I'm going to be so real right now. You're not a real Christian if you're going to judge people like us. In fact, it literally says in the Bible, thou shalt not judge, right? And lest you be judged. So basically, unless you want to be judged harshly, don't do it to anyone else. And you're right. I've actually encountered, and this is why I don't want to say I resent most Christians, but I'm very wary of most Christians, or people who call themselves Christian, because they by far have given me the most pushback when it comes to this topic, right? They don't want to hear it. It's too dark. It's not of God, or they just want to pray it away. And I'm just like, oh my God, you guys really aren't getting it. Like, you're not getting it. The way to really help us, which is the one thing they refuse to do, is actually, you know, like a lot of us struggle physically with just surviving in this world, myself included, with housing, finding jobs, making money, getting our basic needs met. Okay. And guess what Yeshua would do? Okay. If he was here right now, he would help find us housing. He would let us sleep on his fucking couch. He would give us food. He would give us water. He would love us. He would welcome us into his home without question. So unless you're willing to do the same thing, don't ever call yourself a real Christian. Just don't. Okay? Because that is what a real Christian would do. And ain't none of you doing that I can see. Maybe a few, maybe a handful of Christians out there are actually being true Christians, but most of them are freaking hypocrites, man. They talk a lot of talk and don't walk the walk. And when they're literally presented with an opportunity to actually give back to someone like me in a real way, help us get money, help us get food, help us get shelter, help us get our basic needs met, support us in that way, they literally will refuse to. And instead they'll just be like, I'll pray for you. Listen, what if I already prayed and God literally sent me to you or you to me or both as the answer to my prayer? Like, you're supposed to be the answer to my prayer, and you're supposed to, this is like your opportunity to step up and help. And instead you're not. And you still think you're a Christian. That's my number one gripe with most of these people. They're not actually acting and living as real Christians. They say they are, they claim they are, they think because they pray every day and go to church that makes them Christian. No, it does not. You need to get a relationship with Yeshua, direct relationship. And I promise you, if you did have one, you wouldn't be acting like that.
So we talked offline, just to switch gears a little bit in terms of research that people can go into. But the Yeshua actually, there's been researchers that say that he actually settled into the south of France and had progeny in that area.
Yeah. So this particular subject is probably the one that is the most controversial, that I have ties to and information on. I've been very hesitant to share this because, most people are not really ready to hear this, but you know what? At some point, I have been asked by my guides over the last couple of years more and more to just come forward with this and stop, stop hiding. So I guess now's the best time more than ever. So one of the biggest things that Source and my guides, my higher self, have been trying to show me and wake me up to over the last, especially 5-6 years. Again, this all kind of ties to Hawaii and that time period, and when I was awakening to my SRA memories as well. I was also getting a lot of visions around this particular subject at the same time, and it was a lot. And so I've done a lot of self-inquiry and had to ask for a lot of confirmation on this. But after receiving more than enough confirmation and synchronicities over the last few years, I can safely now say that not only was I there during that lifetime with Yeshua, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, I was definitely alive with him during that time period. And I've had many confirmations around this, including meeting several other women in this lifetime who also remember being there and incarnated with me at that time, and we've had discussions. So like, I'm not the only one who's verified this. I have other people who've also, we have the same memories. So anyway, this is not me just like making this up in my own head, is what I'm saying, because believe you me, I've questioned this many times more than anyone else. So not only was I alive during that time with him, I was actually his aunt. I was Mother Mary's sister. That was the role I played in that lifetime. So I was literally his family physically in that lifetime. And I have memories of help raising him as a child all the way into adulthood. I was one of the Essenes as well. Um, one of the, so one part of my soul mission here is also to, at some point in the near future, write a book about all of this. And basically, I'm being asked by not only Yeshua and Source itself, but my entire spirit team to finally shed light on what really happened during that lifetime. Some of the truth that was taken out of the Bible, that especially about the women in his life, the divine feminines, we were completely cut out of the Bible, and we have a lot to share and we have a lot to say. And there was a huge part of the story that was left out that's never been heard, and that's our side of the story. So that's one of the things I'm here to do and shed light on. And I've kind of started writing parts of the book here and there, but if I'm being honest, it's probably going to take a couple more years until anything fully comes to fruition. But nonetheless, one of the other most powerful visions I've had and been shown, and this was probably the most intense and craziest, the one I question the most, okay? This was on Easter Day of 2021. So again, I was living in Hawaii at the time. I already knew on some level that I had a deep soul connection to Yeshua and like that whole group. I still wasn't quite aware at the time how deep of a connection until this particular day. So on Easter Sunday of 2021, I was living alone at my apartment in Hawaii. I basically was just sitting down on my couch. I just started praying at, I believe it was 3 p.m., the time that he died on the cross. And I don't even remember exactly what I said, just something like, thank you for your love and your support and your service and what you did for humanity. Like, I'm just grateful for all that you did, something like that. And I didn't even get that far into the prayer when I literally was cut off and heard him say directly to me, "No, child, thank you for you helped bring me back to life." And I was like, what do you mean? And I just started bawling. Like, I just started crying so hard as I'm seeing this vision now of I was one of the women in the tomb with him. So I was now seeing this vision of me and these three other women all surrounding him while he was lying down in the tomb after he was crucified. And we were basically, I know a lot of this is going to sound controversial. I don't care. We were actually helping to heal him. We were like putting different oils and ointments and herbs on his wounds all over his body. We were chanting, we were singing to him, we were doing energy work, we were literally doing all of the things that I've already talked about, right? The real healing work on him. And quite literally, he meant it when he said, no, thank you. You helped bring me back to life. We're the ones who actually helped activate his rainbow light body. And so we did what we needed to do. And then we left him in the tomb overnight. And it was during that time that he, ascended, right? As we all know. But when they came to get his body out and it was gone, it wasn't because he was dead and ascended into heaven. It was because we helped him escape. He was alive. He walked out of there physically. And yes, another vision I had a few years ago, also around Christmas time in 2023, was of me. And this was, again, extremely vivid. It was me, Mother Mary, Yeshua, and Mary Magdalene. And we were all riding on camels through the desert at night. And I remember because the sky was just so like filled with stars. So we're basically on camels going through the desert at night. And then we get to the edge of this sea. I don't know if it was the Sea of Galilee or the Dead Sea or what, but me and Mary literally help Yeshua and Mary Magdalene get onto a boat. And we're just standing on shore, like waving goodbye to them as they leave on the boat. And I've literally had, can't make this shit up, one of the women I've met in this life that remembers being there in that life, or she has a memory of being on a boat with Yeshua and she's pregnant.
Wow.
And by the way, Mary Magdalene was already pregnant with their first child at that time. So that was huge confirmation. So yes. And I've also met another woman who, and this was recently, we found this out. She was also there incarnate in that life. She knows who she was. She was one of the male disciples. She actually wrote one of the books that's in the Bible. I'm just going to leave that there. And she remembers being the captain of the boat that helped them get away. So it's just like all of these crazy confirmations. So yeah, the whole Da Vinci Code thing and the Knights Templar and the bloodline of Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, I'm here to confirm is very real. And that from my own personal soul's experience, he did not die. He went on to live. And yes, eventually they both essentially escaped up through the Mediterranean into southern France. And that is where they actually ended up having a second child, that I was present for the birth of their second child. So later, after me and Mary helped them escape, we later went to join them in southern France a few years later. And that's when they had their second child. So yes, there is a very real bloodline that is been incarnating on this planet ever since. And yes, I am a part of that bloodline. And I know that's a main reason why I have been targeted. And so is my family. So, and it's taken me a long time to get to this point where I even feel comfortable saying this, because I know that there's probably going to be many people who may hear this and think that I'm totally bonkers and out of my mind. And how could I possibly insinuate that any of this is real? And, calling me blasphemous and all these things. You know what? Whatever. I know what I know. And I've gotten so much confirmation on this from other people too, that like there's no doubt I know who the hell I am. And
It makes perfect sense that through the natal charts, through the studying of your bloodline, that they would
mhm,
target any descendant from that line. Absolutely.
correct. And right, me again, us and the Rothschilds have essentially been mortal enemies like ever since. And they've been targeting our bloodline specifically for the last 2,000 years. And that's what like the Knights Templar was all about, dude, was trying to actually protect our bloodline and the records of our bloodline, which I believe are actually being hidden in the Vatican, right? And they're never gonna let humanity know that. Certainly not me. They don't want me, because I actually believe there's probably thousands of descendants out there all across the world in every continent, every culture. Um, it's not just me and my little family. Like I believe we're spread out amongst, you know, all cultures. And so they really don't want any of us knowing who we are. And they know that if they ever release these records, yeah, we'd all be able to track ourselves down eventually. So that's one of the biggest things they've been trying to keep from humanity is the truth of like that bloodline, that it even exists, that it's still here, that there's people still incarnating into this bloodline, because Yeshua came here to break the spell over humanity that they cast. So that's why they hate him so much. That's why they mock him and hung him on a fucking cross and tortured him in front of all of us. It was one of the most horrific things I've ever had to witness. And yet I know that he still walked away from that alive, partially because of us women in his life. And we never got any of the credit for it, especially Mary Magdalene. I would like to speak on Mary Magdalene for a moment because she's been asking me lately to um, speak more on behalf of the divine feminine. So she has so much, like, there's so much misinformation and controversy around Mary Magdalene, none of which is true. Okay. Who she really was. She was an amazing, powerful healer and teacher, just like Yeshua was. And she was just as powerful, if not more so, than he was. But because she was a woman, she was not respected at all. And they basically tried to push her out. Even the other male disciples were somewhat threatened by her, right? And it's because they knew and could see his close soul connection with her, that they were true divine twin flame partners. And she, by the way, was never a prostitute. That's a bold-faced lie the church made up to discredit her. She actually comes from a prominent, very prominent, wealthy family that was raised in the Egyptian mystery schools. So she was trained from a young age as a child, also in all of these spiritual practices that we all participated in, as the Essenes. Including Yeshua. And like he knew and could see who she really was from the get-go. And yeah, she literally carried his sacred seed and gave birth to like the rest of their bloodline. And the fact that people still try to call her a prostitute, just, it's crazy to me. It's crazy. So she was so much more than that. She was so much more powerful and deserves so much more respect than she's ever gotten. She is amazing and beautiful and literally the epitome of the divine feminine. And that's another thing I've been asked to start tapping into and communicating more, is connecting with her and bringing through her message and the message of the divine feminine, because that is the number one thing that is going to help us get through this shit right now here on planet Earth. We must allow the divine feminine to come back to power and to come fully online and do what we need to do, because that's what will ultimately bring balance back to this earth, which is what we desperately need right now. That's the only solution. So, essentially, and the Cabal knows this, by the way, the Cabal, the reptilians, they know that the most powerful force in the universe is that divine feminine Shakti creative energy, right? That's why they try so damn hard to suppress all of the feminine energy here on this planet, anything associated with the feminine, and women themselves. Like, they hate us. They want to destroy us. They do not want us to have any power whatsoever. So we must reclaim our power now. Like, this is our time. And especially the Christians out there, you need to start embracing both Yeshua, the divine masculine, and Mary Magdalene, divine feminine, when you're coming to them in prayer. You need to start acknowledging both, because you're only... That's another lie the church has spread, or rather twisted, is that you can only get to God through Yeshua. That's not true. That's just simply not true. You actually, the true way to God is, again, through the union of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. It has to be both, because God is both. God is all of the above. And that's another distortion, another lie, that like God is this like man with a beard in the sky on a throne. Like, that's not, no, God is just energy. God is all that is. And I mean, we could get into the whole like demigod demiurge thing right now. That's a whole nother thing, but that might be a better subject for another podcast. But you know, that's another thing that we actually again, going back to like the original ancient Christians, the original true Gnostics, we were Gnostics. The Essenes were Gnostics. So we understood like the true knowledge of like the demiurge, and, you know, that the demiurge is not the true God. It's not God, source, prime creator. That it basically, the God that most people think they're worshiping as the one true God is the demiurge. His name is Yaldabaoth, one of many demigods that have come here and tried to like take over and, you know, control humanity. But Yaldabaoth is one of the big ones, right? And the whole like, and even going back further than that, most people don't know God had a wife named Ashura. People should go look into the story of Ashura, dude, because that shit is the truth, is what's way more ancient than like Christianity and even Judaism. Okay? The Gnostics understood who the true God was and who all these other demigods trying to pretend that they're the real God were, and they saw through how they were how they constructed this matrix and how they're actually controlling our reality, again, through frequency, through sound, through, you know, what we're eating, what we're consuming, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all the ways that they are controlling us, right? And that is literally, Yeshua was sent in here to help show people how to break out of the matrix. So he fully embodied all of that knowledge and then tried passing it on to us. And then, you know, it should have continued, but then like the original Bible, which, by the way, they took out a lot of the original books of the Bible in the Council of Nicaea during the whatever Middle Ages. And it was, yeah, a bunch of white men, priests, who decided what books were going to be kept in the Bible and which ones were going to be taken out based on their agenda, their narrative that they wanted to push. And the narrative they wanted to push was God is a man, Yeshua is a man. It's all about worshiping the masculine, and we're just going to write all the divine feminines out of this book and or call them whores so that no one ever listens to them. That was the whole thing. Okay. The original Bible had exactly 88 books. I actually have a copy of like, well, it's called the Apocrypha, is all the books that were taken out of the original Bible, right? So I have a copy of the Apocrypha. And one of the gospels, by the way, that was taken out was the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. She had her own gospel too, in case people didn't know. People really need to start going and looking into these things for themselves and researching, because it's out there. It's just that, man, religion has done such a good job of, you know, shutting people down and making them feel like they're not even allowed to question these things, or they're a bad Christian, or they don't truly love God, or they don't have real faith in God, right? And it's like, no, that's not. First of all, the one true God, source, prime creator, wants us to question things. Controversial statement, I know, but the true God wants us to question things. The true God does not want us to just bow down and worship and, you know, do God's bidding at whatever cost without asking any questions ever. Just do what I say.
The point isn't to externalize our sovereignty. It's to have it within.
We were never meant to give our power away. And that is the main thing that the church doesn't want us to know. We are very powerful beings, humans, okay? We were made of we were created, from what I've been shown, by several different ET groups. And like the original, like humans, many different ET groups came over the course of time and kind of messed with our DNA in various different ways here and there. And that's how we became to be what we are now, modern Homo sapiens, right? And each of those ET groups had their own kind of agenda, what they wanted to do with humans. And so they know that we were designed to be extremely powerful light beings. We actually have a lot of natural innate gifts, but the cabal and these reptilian beings, they know this, and they know that we're actually technically more powerful than them. Shocker. And that's another reason why they have to try so damn hard to keep us down. Because if we actually were allowed to step into our true power, we would take them over instantly, man. They'd have no chance.
Right.
And Yeshua knew that too. And that's, again, he was trying to remind us of our true innate power as human beings, showing us that we can manifest what we want, that we can essentially create whatever we want if we understand the principles of natural law, as you and I have also discussed before, right? If you understand natural law, hermetic law, universal law, basically all the same thing, right? You will eventually understand how to break free from this reality, and also how to manipulate it, right? And the cabal, that's what they've basically been doing for centuries. They've been using their like black magic and their sorcery and their rituals and their satanic shit to get what they want. So they've basically been using the loopholes, but in a negative way, right? For control. But we could also learn the same things, but use them for the opposite intent, which is to grow and come together in harmony and oneness and evolve to the next level of what we're meant to be, which, you know, if we want to talk about like the 5D reality and like where we're, you know, ultimately heading towards as a human species, like that's kind of the goal. And again, the cabal, I believe, knows that this is ultimately destined to happen, but they're trying to stop it at all costs, which frankly, their desperation is showing more by the day. So it's cool. They can dig their own grave. Like, let's just let them do it at this point. But like, but right, like if we us light beings, which they're really trying hard to keep us from actually coming together right now. But if we were actually allowed to come together in a real way, we could overcome them so easily. So easily. And they know this. They know this. That's why they're doing everything they're doing right now. These constant perpetual wars, constant fear porn propaganda campaigns through the media, constant, like trolling people on social media with fake bot accounts to try to make it seem like nobody's listening to you, even if that's not true. Fudging your numbers, making it seem like your views are super low, even if they're actually really high. Like, to basically anything they can do to continue this narrative of oppression is what they're doing. So therefore, that's why beings like me, like you, like all these other light workers were called to come in and help sort this shit out on behalf of Source. And man, it has not been easy. This has probably been one of the most difficult incarnations I've ever had on planet Earth, but here we are. And it's like, on one hand, I'm very like proud to be part of the bloodline I'm from, and I'm grateful for my connection to them and their support and their love. And at the same time, it's also made it extremely difficult to exist here, because I and anyone else related to me have just been so heavily targeted in this life. And so, I know that I had to go through all that stuff as a child, and chose on some level to go through all that stuff as a child, so that one day I could actually face these people full on and bring them down with the full force of God behind me. You know what I mean? And have no doubt who I am going into it. Because that was the number one thing I believe they never wanted me to figure out, is who I am and what bloodline I'm related to. Because I think they knew as soon as I figured that out, that was the last little bit of control they had over me. And now they don't. And I'm a sovereign, free being, baby. And no one has any fucking control or power over me. Okay? It's me and God Source, and that's it. And bring it on. You know what I mean? Like, I'm at a point where I'm like, listen, if you people want to continue to fuck with me, then have the balls to do it to my face. Stop playing behind the scenes and doing your weird gang stalk dirty work, like paying all these people to, oh yeah, just like go and interrupt her, go over here and just bother her. That it's so pathetic. Their weird tactics, So anyway, but yes, actually, let's talk about music for a moment, because that's another big thing in this healing journey for me, has been my love of music and my connection to music. So I actually started, well, I pretty much have been playing music since I was born. Like, pretty much since I could talk, I was singing. And I started playing piano, my first instrument, when I was 7. That was my introduction to music, how I learned to read music. And then, after that, I've played many other instruments as well, violin, flute, all my sound healing instruments. But now I mainly play guitar and sing. So another part of my mission, what I'm here to do, I believe, is to share my messages through my music, right? And through my voice, my singing, because I was gifted with a very powerful voice, a very powerful throat chakra, which has also been heavily targeted in this life. They've really tried to take my voice. A lot of programming around like the Little Mermaid and Ariel and stuff growing up too, which is a whole nother thing that a lot of, these satanic groups do, is use particular Disney movies and characters to like program you around. Yeah. Anyway, so that's another story. But so yeah, music has kind of always been part of my life since I was born. And now I mainly play guitar and sing, like I said. And am also a songwriter, I guess. I've technically only ever played one of my original songs in front of anyone. There's more. It's just been it's been a long journey for me with music because for many years growing up being like classically trained, singing in choir, I did musical theater, growing up all the way, through high school. So, um, I was trained to sing in a very like particular way, and it was always very like structured and um like specific, right? And singing, when you're singing as part of a group in a choir, you have to be like on point. So it actually took me a while after that as an independent adult to kind of find my own voice and my own sound, um and work from there. And so now that I feel like I finally found that, I've been sharing my music more and more over the last decade or so. And I would love to continue, sharing messages through my music in that way. Um, I definitely have felt more called, especially lately, to write songs that are more like uplifting, inspirational, like speaking the truth. As opposed to like, back in the day, it was like I would try to write like more cliche, like love songs or whatever, but none of it ever really felt as much like me. I almost felt like I was writing a song for somebody else. Now I'm like, and it's interesting because a lot of people actually use music to channel like their negative emotions and like the anger and stuff, which I wish I could say that that worked for me, because then maybe by now I would have produced a lot more songs, but unfortunately it doesn't. I actually can really only ever access my true creative power when I feel fully safe and relaxed and at peace, which has not been often in this life. So it's kind of been hard, and it's been very sporadic. Like I'm one of those people who I can't just sit down and like try to write a song. Like that's just not how it goes. Like it's usually literally I'll wake up in like the middle of the night at like 3 a.m. and suddenly I'm just like downloaded with a fucking song, and I just write it down. And I'm just like, okay, I don't know where that came from, but here we are. So that's kind of been why it's actually taken me so long to really, because I think a lot of people assume that like I would have already had like an album or like written all this music by now because of like my dark experiences in my childhood. Like, oh, you don't use music to like channel the darkness and get it out. It's like, I wish I could, but it just doesn't naturally come to me in that way. Just singing in general does help me release a lot of energy. So like I will go out and go to a karaoke bar, once a week, every week, or an open mic night, right? That's literally how one of the ways I de-stress besides yoga and dance, is just singing. So there's definitely certain songs I will sing when I'm really feeling like I need to release, right? Especially a lot of anger, but it's never been through like my own original music. So one of my goals, I guess, over the next few years is to really like get to a healed enough place where I feel safe enough that maybe like my body will allow me to actually access those darker emotions and be able to channel them into an actual like inspirational song, because I feel like there's like a lot there that could come out. But again, it's like there's been all this heavy programming and stuff like overlaid that I've had to work through, that's kind of stopped me from really going deeper with that. But I do have at least one original song recorded on my SoundCloud, which I think you're going to share the link with this video. So if anyone wants to go listen to my original music, please feel free. I would love that. Comment, share, whatever you want to do with it. And yeah, honestly, music, yoga, and dance more than anything have really helped me personally work through like the deepest level of trauma, especially like movement with the breath work. Somatic healing, if you will, has probably been the most effective thing for me. Like moving my body in certain ways, because a lot of trauma gets trapped in our muscles. This is why yoga is so and dance are so helpful, because when you allow your body to finally open these muscles up where the trauma is trapped, and you then the trauma is free to come up to the surface, that's when you can finally feel and allow yourself to just feel the feelings. And that's actually how they finally release from the body, and the body can now start to heal. So doing specific movements in tandem with breath work, with affirmations, with toning, even sound healing, this is how we actually heal dark, deep trauma within our bodies, right? Even down to the deepest layers. Also hypnotherapy, which has also helped me as well. But I will caveat that and say you do have to be kind of wary and very, like, again, use your discernment when it comes to finding the right hypnotherapist, because not all of them are hold on.
Not all of them are trustworthy for sure. And as you're
Yes.
drinking,
Oh my God.
yeah. So what I'm hearing you talk about is you feel called to integrate the divine masculine aspect within you, the sacred anger, with the creative aspect, the divine feminine, and merging them within yourself as an artist, so that you can, alchemize both aspects and heal.
Yes, precisely, because that's literally the only way out. We have to alchemize both and bring together both. That is the message ultimately that Yeshua and Mary Magdalene were here to bring, right? Like it's a union of the divine masculine and feminine together. That is the way up and out of this matrix system, right? That's the coming together of these. I'm literally seeing like a lock and a key, right? It's like he had light codes and she had light codes, that by bringing them together, it activated both of them, right? So, and this is another reason why they're also trying to track down and find any and all of the real true. And I believe there's only like a few of them. The whole twin flame thing, that's a whole nother topic we can talk about, later. But I believe there's only a very few handful of true twin flames on this planet. Most people who think they are not. They're just soulmates, or maybe not even that. There's a lot of fucking disinfo about the twin flame thing, but like, I do believe that the real twin flames are incarnated here. The cabal has been heavily trying to track all of them down and suppress them as well. They do not want these people come together, because they know the true divine twin flames, if they came together, again, they would blast this shit right open, like with their light. They would create a whole fucking empire of light
Mhm.
beings if we were allowed to actually come together. And so they know that as long as they can keep us apart and keep us separated from our true divine partners, they got us, dude.
Yep.
And it's sad, and I hate to say that I feel like they've been more successful than I would like to admit over the last few years with this. But um yeah, we need to actually, like, really, if you are a part of a true divine partnership and you know it, you really have to fucking fight against any outside forces trying to bring you guys down right now. Like, you have to fucking just know who you are beyond anything else at the end of the day, and do not let anyone else program you into believing otherwise, because we need you. We need the true twin flames to come together right now. Like, this is so fucking important. It is massively important for our ascension. And I believe that that's kind of what happened to me in 2023. I believe I did meet who at the time I believed was my divine counterpart. And unfortunately, he rejected me. And I do believe there was some fuckery with some, yep, the group that my dad's a part of, as well as potentially a group he himself might have been associated with, doing spell work to keep us apart. And it fucking worked, unfortunately. So you know, I've come to my own, like, peace. I've made peace with that now, after, you know, a long time of healing from that. But, you know, having gone through it myself, I can definitely say, like, yeah, that's one of the main ways they are for sure trying to keep us light workers down. If they can keep us isolated and away from our true divine counterparts, they know that it's going to be 100 times harder for us to complete our missions here. So there's that. So again, if you are part of a divine counterpart couple and, you know, you're going through it right now, just keep holding on, keep fighting, because we need you guys right now. And we need as many strong couples who are sure of themselves to come together right now. And it is through their union that we're bringing, like, more of the light is coming on. It's it's clearing out the ley lines on planet Earth of all this dark shit, right? So it's just, I've seen and witnessed so many different specific ways that the cabal is targeting humanity, and especially the light workers right now, to try to keep us down, especially if you are a survivor of SRA, especially if you're connected to certain bloodlines. um we have to really get smart and learn their game, and not allow ourselves to be tricked and manipulated anymore by these forces. And it is truly only through educating ourselves, doing our own research, and listening to our own intuition and our own guidance that we're actually going to be able to do that successfully. So yeah, there's so much going on planet Earth right now, and I know I chose to be here for it, and I know I took on a very difficult role in this lifetime. But honestly, I know I'm here for a reason, and I know that after a long time of feeling invisible and being silenced, that, you know, God source is asking me, really pushing me now more than ever, to finally come forward and, you know, not let fear get in the way, and that it's time to share my story, because there are many more other people out there, I'm sure, like me, that need to hear these messages. Or maybe you heard something from someone, and you're questioning these things, and you're going through your own awakening, and maybe I'm here to just validate just one little thing for you. I don't know, but I just know that as much as the cabal tried to take me down and take me out, they could not. I'm still here, still standing strong. And
That's right.
because of that, I'm going to share my story, and I'm going to use my voice for what it's for. And, you know, I am reclaiming my power and my sovereignty, and they could not take me out. And, you know, good riddance. You know, they again, they're little reptilian children who have yet to evolve and grow up. And we just need to stick together, us light warriors, and remember who we are, and that we are always supported by the divine. We're always supported by Yeshua. We can always call on them if we need to. And I know I'm also part of the 144,000 as well, which I know is another controversial subject, and many people think they're part of it that actually aren't, but that's another thing. I've asked for so much confirmation on this and got it in spades. So like, I have no doubt. And yeah, the 144,000 in particular they really, really are trying to take as many of us out right now as they possibly can. But you're not going to win. We are being turned on. We are being activated. We are coming together. We are finding each other. And that's, I believe, the other big piece of the last few years for me is Source needed me to realize who I was that was a part of this group, and basically trying to align me with other people who are also part of this collective who are out there. I believe I've encountered and met some of them. There's probably many more out there I'm going to cross paths with, but yeah, they know who we are. And they're really trying to take us out right now. So we have to stick together. We have to keep fighting, and we have to just keep remembering that we are the light. And again, it really is simple. Like, the golden rule is really what it comes down to at the end of the day. Treat others as you would want to be treated. Pretty simple. Yet most humans completely overlook this and do not actually live that way. They don't live according to golden rule. They, it's like all of humanity's biggest demons are coming out right now to play. The selfishness, the greed, the me mentality,
mini-me Satanism.
Right, because that's really what Satanism is. It's the total focus on the self and complete lack of empathy, compassion, or remorse for any other being besides you. It's all about yourself, and that's it. Do as thou willst, right? That's what fucking Aleister Crowley said. One of the most evil men to ever walk this earth. Yeah. That is horseshit. No, actually, one of the biggest reasons we're in this mess right now is because people are not considerate of their fellow man. They are extremely selfish. They never think about anyone else but themselves. And everything they do is motivated by, what can I gain at the expense of everyone and everything else? And I just don't operate that way. I don't understand this. I've never understood this mentality. It's crazy to me. Like, but yeah, so here we are. And, with where we're at now, maybe we should just end on this. Like, so with where we're at now, especially in the United States, with the war in Iran, with our economy being in, just all fucked up. It's like the worst it's ever been. With all of this stuff now coming out about disclosure, right? But dude, we all know, those of us who are awake, this is all just a distraction from the frickin' Epstein files, right? Like, they could have come out with this years ago. They've chosen not to, simply to protect their own asses and to keep their own narrative going. And Epstein was a huge part of this. They absolutely did not want the files to come out, because the files prove everything that you and I are talking about right now, that all of this satanic stuff is real, that the sex trafficking is real, that the cannibalism and everything they're doing to the children is real, that these people really are this evil and fucked up. And it's not a question anymore. It's not a theory. It's fucking fact. It's there in black and white. And they absolutely did not want this coming out. And they are trying their damnedest to try and shut it back down, including basically throwing everything out there that they can. It's like they're throwing darts at the wall, hoping something will stick. Oh, okay, well, UFOs. Let's just do disclosure now so that we, again, distract them away from the Epstein files. It's like, oh my God, we see what you're doing. It's so obvious, man. I just, so they're really trying to distract from the Epstein files, from all of this satanic shit. They really, the main things they do not want getting out or anyone talking about is the satanic agenda, the reptilian agenda, which are basically one and the same, the child sex trafficking stuff, and the free energy stuff, because they do not want us having access to these free energy devices and being able, again, to get out of their control and be able to create anything for ourselves, right? That's really what it is. So they're like, well, now that the Epstein files are out of the bag, okay, I guess we gotta start a whole freaking war with Iran to distract them. Oh, that's not enough. Okay, I guess we'll finally release the UFO files. But like, we've known for a long time that like there's way more, first of all, than what they're actually releasing, what the government is telling us is true. There's way more than that. They're still trying to, you know, control the narrative around this to what they want. And they're still not going to tell us about the reptilians, by the way. And that's, again, the big thing, because they know that that's who's at the top. So now, and, you know, I believe this is what all these scientists they were trying to take out and cover up, that all of this ties into the fact that I believe they are probably going to try to pull off Project Bluebeam either this year or next year, or like they're really like going back and forth on it right now, because
that just shows how desperate they are. Yeah.
And they're trying to take out anyone who has actually worked with the real back engineered UFO technology and the real anti-gravity and free energy technology, so that when they try and pull out Project Bluebeam, which is all holograms, by the way, that all the people who would have been able to like point out and be like, oh yeah, that's not real, that's a fucking hologram, and here's how I can prove it, and here's how the real technology is totally different, because I've seen it. They're trying to take all those people out. Anyone who could shed the truth and the light on, you know, what's really happening there, that those aren't real UFOs, that those are just holograms. And so just go back to sleep, little sheep, you know, just go back to sleep. Just accept that, you know, what we're telling you. And it's like, no, we're not doing that. So we just need to be aware that these are the things these people are planning right now. That this is what this is the path they're trying to get us all to go down, right? To believe in this one narrative. And it's all bullshit. And yes, ETs and UFOs are very real. Yes, they are. But the ones that the government's going to show us, no, those are holograms, people. And they've had that technology for decades. So we really, again, coming back to learn how to hone your own intuition and discernment to such a fine, sharp degree that when you see a fucking hologram in the sky of a ship, you will just know instantaneously, like, nope, that's not real. That's not real. Or maybe it is real, right? Maybe you'll know in that moment, oh my God, it's my star family. Yay, like they finally came. Hopefully to pick me up and take me out of here. That's probably not going to happen either, unfortunately. So, as much as I would like that. But yeah, it's all real, but they're really trying to push any and all fake narratives right now that they can to distract us away yet again from the truth, which is everything we've already discussed, all the satanic shit, the child sex trafficking, the negative ETs, the reptilians. That's all the stuff that they don't want us to know. So that's the stuff that we need to keep talking about and reminding people that, like, again, if we actually get past the fear and allow ourselves to have real conversations around this stuff, like, that's how we overcome these things. It's not by being afraid to talk about it and, ooh, no, like that's uncomfortable, that's scary, I don't want to. That's how we're still giving them more power, by the way. Right. That's not helping anything. So at some point we just got to be real with ourselves and just start talking about the hard topics and asking the hard questions and being okay with finding out the truth, as difficult as it might be. you know, somebody has to be the one to stand in the light. And man, this year has been a real test for me. I tell you what, like, on, how badly do I really want to keep fighting this spiritual war, right? How much do I really care about humanity and the light? And it's been a real test, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm still here somehow. And while I still have breath in my body, I'm gonna keep talking. And no one's gonna shut me up anymore at this point. So here I am.
I love it. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Anna. I love the fire. I love how the care that you have as well. And you are truly an inspiration. And I think you're going to inspire a lot of people that are listening, whether it's now or later. The courage that you've brought to share things that are uncomfortable, that are inconvenient for people to hear, and the courage to just move through that and share it anyways. And your music, you're taking it to this next level where it's going beyond, just the sort of like left brain transmission, but also like sharing the message through emotions and through song. And I want to sort of just share that I know that the battle has, to say that it's been difficult would, I'm assuming, be an understatement. I think it's for those that are aligned light beings, you're going to attract proportionally that amount of darkness. And so the amount that you've had to endure has been a lot. And I feel like when connections happen like this, where we can kind of provide reinforcements, if you will, in this spiritual war to each other, uplift each other, encourage each other to open our throat chakras and share our truths. Just be there for each other emotionally and just support each other's work, whether it's in the SRA community, in the ET research contact community, whatever. A lot of us have seen behind the veil, and we have direct experiences that we can share about it. And I'm so glad that we shared today.
Me too. And again, thank you so much for having me on and allowing me to speak and share my story. And it's been so nice talking and connecting with you. And I really just hope that this reaches the right people, the right souls that need to hear this, that are aligned with this information. And yeah, anyone who might need, reassurance or confirmation that you're not alone. There's many of us out there like me who've gone through like the darkest of the dark, and I've had to go it mostly alone. I've had like nobody my entire life, and it's been a struggle, but you're not really alone. There are many of us out there, and you know, um we are powerful. We are very, very powerful beings, and we just need to remember who we are and reclaim our own power and our own sovereignty. And that is how we start to heal and overcome the darkness. And yeah, yoga, music, dance, all of those things, whatever brings you joy, whatever lights you up and helps you move through your own darkness and trauma, do that. Find that thing and do that as much as you can, because you know we live in such a beautiful, beautiful planet. Like, Mother Earth is just amazing. I mean, I've literally traveled the world and seen some of like the most incredible sights on planet Earth. And it's, again, I am also here to fight for her too, for Mother Earth, for our planet, our home. She needs our support. She needs our protection. And you know, the cabal have tried to destroy her too. So we have to protect our home. And as long as people like you and I keep talking and having these conversations and sharing and coming together and doing the healing work, yeah, we are going to win. It's meant to be. It's destined that the light is going to win this time. So we're doing it, guys. We're doing it. It's happening.
And, you know, I'm not attached to timelines.
Yeah, because we're
We
always jumping
came,
between. So
we
many
all kind of came into this incarnation and we found each other in each version, and we still persevered through each version. So it's like they can kill us, what, we're going to come back, you know, like
exactly.
we're not quitting. So, you
Oh
know,
yeah,
I'm not
no.
attached to any lifetime experience right now.
Me neither, because like I said, like I know, like my godfather in particular, we've gone back and forth many lifetimes where like he's tried to take me out and then I took him out and then he tried, you know, back and forth we go. And it's like this lifetime, it's like, can we just be done with that? Like, can we just like end that fucking pattern? Cause like, right. And like, we can keep going. I will still come back and like overcome you if I need to, but can we just like finally find peace around this? Can we finally clear the karma? You know? Um, that's what I feel like my soul wanted to do in this life. Was the other reason I feel like it's been so hard is because I don't know why, but I'm pretty sure my soul just chose like expert level, super difficult mode. You know what I mean? Like expert level
Ah,
Dragon Force on fucking Guitar Hero. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
dude.
Like,
Yeah,
let's
dude.
just go for the gusto. Let's
Yeah.
heal all of our karma in this one lifetime so we can get on out of here and never have to come back. Like, I think that's what
Yeah.
I chose and why it's been so hard. But you know what? It is what it is. I'm gonna keep doing what I need to do until the last breath I have in this body, right? Like I will keep fighting the good fight and fighting for the light and love and positivity, all of the good things, right? I'm gonna keep fighting for that until the day I die. And these people are not gonna keep me down as much as they've tried because I'm still here, right?
Yay. Thank you so much,
Yay.
Anna. And thanks to those that were able to tune in. And yeah, we should do this again. I would love to have you on. And again, maybe we could do this as a series.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm excited. Let's definitely do it again and figure out another time soon to have another conversation. But yeah, we can talk about that later. Yeah, if anyone's interested in um checking out my music, you can check out the SoundCloud link that Jerry's going to post in the chat. And also, if anyone is local to the Tampa, St. Pete area and you want to come take a yoga class from me, you can check out my Instagram account and see when my next classes are going to be on there. And would love to have you come join anytime. And yeah, thank you guys all so much for tuning in, for listening, and feel free to share and spread the word. And yeah, would love to come back and do another show with you anytime. Thanks so much, Jerry. This was
Thank
so
you.
awesome. All right. Bye.